The 49ers just got good injury news on both Javon Hargrave and Charvarius Ward. Both of these guys have a chance to play this weekend against Arizona, but they're going to be evaluated a little bit later this week so that the 49ers will know their exact chances to return. But Hargrave, who has a hamstring strain, and Ward, who has a groin strain, I think the key summary here is that neither of these injuries is considered serious or long-term. We have to consider the context of the 49ers schedule to know what might happen next. And they're 13.5-point favorites against the Cardinals. I don't think they need Charvarius Ward or Javon Hargrave to win this upcoming game. But following that, well, that's the game against the Baltimore Ravens. And that's a game where I think it would make a lot of sense for these players to return after a week of rest. But the 49ers will determine everything as time comes this week. Eric Armstead is already out. Remember that. That's the defensive tackle alongside Javon Hargrave, foot and knee issues. Kyle Shanahan said that he'll likely miss one more week. So I think that everything is lining up for the big three, Armstead, Hargrave, and Charvarius Ward, to have a nice entry to return against the Ravens. But if one of those guys is ahead of schedule, maybe they do play against the Cardinals this weekend. Other returns, Darrell Luter Jr. missed this past week with a hamstring injury. He's going to be back out at practice this week. So is Elijah Mitchell coming back from the knee injury, and so is 49ers starting right guard Spencer Burford coming back from a knee injury of his own. Now, Burford, that's going to be interesting because John Feliciano was the 49ers' highest graded offensive player yesterday. He was a menace in the run game. Took out Jamal Adams on that first 72-yard Christian McCaffrey run to open the game. The 49ers have talked about wanting to platoon Feliciano and Burford when both of those guys were healthy. They're probably both going to be healthy this week if Burford does indeed return to practice. And to me, that means, Arizona, this is one of the worst defenses in the league. Brock Purdy totally embarrassed them back in early October. This might be a really good chance to introduce the platoon, get the rhythm, get the rotation going before you play the Ravens next week if you really do want to play both Burford and John Feliciano. So that's the 49ers injury report, with one more with Oren Burks, their third linebacker. He's got knee tendonitis and will probably miss a couple of weeks, according to Shanahan. So Demetrius Flanagan-Foles replaced Burks yesterday, and he's been the 49ers' third linebacker. Also means potentially more opportunities for Jalen Graham, who made his NFL debut yesterday, the rookie out of Purdue, had a nice tackle on special teams, and D. Winters, who was also a late-round draft pick here in 2023. A lot of depth at linebacker for the 49ers, a lot of young depth. So losing Burks for a couple weeks, I think they have enough to fill in for him. Kyle Shanahan, happy after the win yesterday, thought that it was a little bit sloppy. I think that we all did. We watched that, but the 49ers still won by 2 possessions. Shanahan would just like to see his team put Seattle away a little sooner. I know that Brandon Ayuk fumble didn't help things. So he talked about that. He talked about the fact that he thought that he was confused about the runoff of the clock at the end of the first half after the illegal pass penalty from Seattle. That's why he didn't use his timeouts. Shanahan admits that he regrets how he handled that time-wise. He wishes, with all 3 timeouts and Seattle backed up, he wishes he would have used them to get the ball back to try to score more points before halftime. I know that was a question on a lot of people's minds, so that's something the 49ers will try to learn from moving forward. But all in all, they are in a decent health situation right now. They take a sigh of relief that none of these, starter injuries appear to be long-term injuries. And the 49ers, obviously, they showed some grit, they showed some depth, and the ability to win even without some of these players. So they're in a good spot. They're going to try to heal up fully before they play the Ravens on December 25th. One player who's on IR, Ray McLeod, Kyle Shanahan today said that he was thinking about inserting Deebo Samuel into the kick returner role even if McLeod hadn't gotten hurt. Just because, nothing against McLeod, they just say Deebo Samuel is a special player. We just want to get the ball in his hands in any way that we can. So to me, that was interesting. I guess Deebo has been probably demanding a bigger role. I mean, he's the guy that wants to take over games. I call it odd year Deebo, the phenomenon, right? 2019, 2021, 2023. He's been in excellent shape in all 3 of those seasons, and he's just dominated in the last 2 of them. In 2021 and 2023, he's really been a special player. So look for him to continue returning kicks. McLeod, if IR is a minimum 4-week commitment. So McLeod missed this game against Seattle. He's going to miss the next one against Arizona. He's going to miss Baltimore, and he's going to miss Washington for sure. He'll be eligible to return for the regular season finale against the Los Angeles Rams at Levi's Stadium. The 49ers have officially signed Jason Verrett to their practice squad. We already reported that this was going to happen, but he was in the locker room yesterday. What a story for Jason Verrett, right? The resilience that he's shown. He's had 2 ACL tears and 2 Achilles tears over the course of his career. I would venture to say that he's the only player in NFL history to have returned from 2 ACL tears and 2 Achilles tears. Now, he hasn't officially returned to game action, but I think that if that happened to anybody else, if it even has happened to anybody else, if another player's even lasted long enough to suffer that many injuries, I would venture to say that player wouldn't be coming back onto an NFL roster or even have a chance at the playing field. But Jason Verrett, he has shown the resilience to work back through yet another injury. The Achilles was the most recent one. He was jumping around the locker room yesterday. He looked to be in good spirits. He's obviously happy to be part of what right now is looking like one of the greatest teams of all time. That's how the 49ers are playing. And if they could sustain this, and Verrett might be a big part of that, if they lose anybody at cornerback, obviously Charvarius Ward is dealing with that minor groin injury right now. Jason Verrett will have a chance to truly contribute for this team. Verrett's one of the most talented corners in NFL history. You don't come back from 2 ACL tears and 2 Achilles tears and stay in the league this long despite all of these serious injuries unless you're seriously talented. So he's obviously hasn't been able to stay healthy, but just from a attitude standpoint, that perseverance, that resilience, the 49ers love having that mentality in their locker room to help guide the way. That's why I think they wouldn't mind adding Zach Ertz into the locker room either. By the way, Ross Dwelly, high ankle sprain, they're looking at this week to week. Shanahan actually mentioned he might have a chance this week. I don't really buy that if it's truly a high ankle sprain, but keep your eye out on movement at the tight end position as well. As far as Verrett goes, he takes up the last spot on the 49ers practice squad. Obviously, they can flex him up twice. If they want to use him more than that, they're going to have to promote him to the 53-man roster. Why did it take so long? Well, I think that Verrett wanted a 53-man roster spot because that's the higher pay. I mean, anybody wants more compensation, right? Especially a player of his skill level. You can understand him holding out to see if a better opportunity might have arose, but it hadn't, because the 49ers didn't have any serious injuries at that cornerback position. And at some point, Verrett has to get back into the game, has to be in a building. He was with the Texans practice squad for a while this year, and now he has a chance with the 49ers practice squad. They're going to get a very firm look at what he has in the tank coming off of that injury at practice last season, and they'll get to move forward based on that. So the 49ers, they remain locked and loaded. This is one impressive roster. They're 10-3, and they can actually clinch their spot in the playoffs tonight with a New York Giants victory over the Green Bay Packers. So if the Packers lose on Monday Night Football, the 49ers have punched another ticket to the playoffs. It'd be their 3rd straight season in the postseason tournament. All right, we'll talk to you soon.